Pietermaritzburg. Thank you.
Impilo into enzekile ukhohla kodwa le belt hayi very good. Yeah, we done. Siyaphila sisinjani. Good. Jabulani ukubona.
Ask for leave to appeal. The other option, well, if he fails to get the leave to appeal, the other option is the Supreme Court of Appeal. So those are the various processes that are left open, or options left open for the former president. As you can see, a packed gallery there at the KwaZulu-Natal High Court in Pietermaritzburg. You have Mishak Khadebe in your shot as well. Various ANC members sitting, as well as journalists.
We just saw the former president earlier on having a chat with his legal representative. There's the shot again, Advocate Lugisani Mancha. But Ayanda mentioning earlier that his other counsel, senior counsel Moses Sikakane, having submitted a letter, a new evidence apparently that supports the president's assertion that he has not been treated fairly in some instances. We don't know how much impact that letter will have. We don't know the contents yet. But those are scenes from inside the KwaZulu-Natal High Court this morning in Pietermaritzburg.
If you just joined us, welcome. This is The Agenda. We're monitoring scenes from the Pietermaritzburg Court, the High Court, the KwaZulu-Natal High Court, Pietermaritzburg Division. The long-awaited trial of former President Jacob Zuma and his co-accused French arms cabinet Thales set to start today. It was a holding date today, but there is a possibility of postponement of the trial if former President Jacob Zuma decides to appeal Friday's judgment. And that dealt with the stay of prosecution judgment that was dismissed.
Had you met the JP before? That Jackie? Do you know him? Not really. Did you see the JC when he came to him? And the JC recommended him to be the JP?
No. He was.
For the KwaZulu-Natal judge.
Yeah. So that's why I was a bit taken aback when he says
Yes,
telling judges that they must bring out a judgment.
We're waiting for proceedings to begin in the corruption, fraud and racketeering trial of former President Jacob Zuma in the KwaZulu-Natal High Court, sitting in Pietermaritzburg. Just in terms of looking at historical information about this trial. Previously, you would have seen the likes of Zwelinzima Vavi, who was then representing COSATU, Blade Nzimande as the head of the South African Communist Party. Even the likes of Julius Malema coming out to support the former president. That's way back. Yeah. A lot has changed since then.
Okay, thanks.
Just to remind you about the judgment that was handed down on Friday by Judge Jerome Nguni. And we have reporting that the judge has also found that Zuma did not suffer any prejudice by not being charged with his former financial advisor, Shabir Sheikh. In 2005, as his legal team had argued, and the court felt that there were reasonable and probable grounds for prosecuting Zuma, and the court dismissed Zuma's argument that the NPA caused delays for him to have his day in court. Remember that the common phrase, having his day in court, and the judges felt that Zuma and the NPA were complicit in the delays of about 14 years, and cannot be pinned to one side only.
Judge Jerome Guni feeling that the charges are just too serious and need to be tested.
If you look at a timeline, Desiree, this all harks back to 1999, these charges emanating from there, when Patricia de Lille presented Parliament with a dossier which contained allegations of corruption in terms of the arms deal negotiations.
It's been a long slog.
It's been a long. And currently, the former president is facing fraud, corruption, racketeering, and money laundering charges. And this obviously dates back to that multi-billion rand arms deal back in the 1990s.
Let's just mention, even though we don't have the visuals on the screen, that happening at the same time is an appearance in Parliament by the National Prosecuting Authority. Ms. Shamila Batoyi will be addressing the Committee on Justice any moment. Well, the proceedings have already started.
So we take it a little bit. So my friend calls me, or my leader calls me from your entire conversation is being heard live. Yeah, we're just talking outside. Okay. I'm not happy with the Japan as a move forward. Yes, Kagan. I'm going to try and get it. Yeah.
The contents of that story later on. Let's now focus back to the KwaZulu-Natal High Court, where the judge has just walked in and taken a seat in the corruption trial of former President Jacob Zuma. Let's go there live.
Yes, Mr.
I'm here for the state in this matter together with my colleagues Mrs. Kutsia and Mr. Mtenjwa. My lady, might I just say at the outset that I apologize for not introducing ourselves. We got hijacked in the corridors.
This courtroom, it's very distracting.
Sorry, my lady. So I do apologize. We were on our way to introduce ourselves to you.
Yes, no, that's fine. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Downer. I understand what happened.
Together with Mr. Skakane, we appear for Mr. Zuma.
Thank you.
Ms. Adhikari and I appear on behalf of the second accused. I also apologize. We have met, but haven't
Yes.
appeared before.
No, that's fine. Thank you, Mr.
My lady, might I just lead with some introductory remarks. Today is the first day of the criminal trial set down provisionally to determine the way forward after the result of the permanent stay applications. So we had the result of the permanent stay applications last week, where this court decided that both applications were declined or refused. So therefore, notionally, we can continue with the trial. My lady, as we have said from the beginning, from the state side, when this matter was put down on the High Court roll, we've said from the beginning the state is ready for trial, and that remains the case. So we're ready to set a trial date. To that end, to open the batting, as it were, we suggested by correspondence to our learned friends yesterday that we could start thinking of the first available date which is open to this court on this court roll, which is in April, which is in fact Monday the 13th of April, which is the second term, the first day of the second term next year. So we remain ready, and of course there are a number of practical things which prevent us proceeding immediately to that date. The first is that we have been informed that there will be applications for leave to appeal on the part of the accused. My learned friends will bring applications to overturn the permanent stay judgment, and to that end, that is a process which has to take place going forward. So we have to take that into account. We can tell your ladyship now that the state obviously will be opposing such applications because we don't think that they should be brought now. They're matters which can be determined by the trial court, as has often been told, my learned friends, by various courts, from this court through to the SCA and up to the Constitutional Court.
Obviously, we can't dictate the outcome of that at this stage of proceedings.
Absolutely, my lady. So, and of course, we don't think that there are reasonable prospects of success as well, apart from it being appropriate. But that my learned friends and us indeed are bound to adhere to the rules of court relating to the prosecution of that application for leave to appeal. And we have discussed these issues with the Judge President, and we've determined and agreed on a timetable of dates. My learned friends must file, according to the rules of court, by the 1st of November 2019. That's 15 days after Friday's date last. And they've undertaken to do so. They'll adhere to the rules of court. Then, obviously, there has to be application for leave to appeal to the full court. And we've agreed that in accordance with the rules, it has to be leave sought from the full court. The JP has undertaken to constitute the full court for that matter. And we, from our side, we're all available, and my counsel arguing for the state in that matter, which is a sort of hybrid civil and criminal matter, counsel for the state are available on the 22nd of November. So papers to go in on the 1st. The matter will be heard before the full court relating to application for leave to appeal the permanent stay judgment. And for that matter, your ladyship need not be concerned with that, because that is not a criminal trial date. The accused need not be here, need not be present. It's an application done on papers before the full court. But we've all agreed, as some of us will be parties to that will be the 22nd of November. Then, my lady, there will be obviously time for the full court to consider its verdict, to deliberate, and at some stage after the 22nd of November, we hope soon, the full court will give its judgment. We would very much like then to set a pre-trial date, the next date for the criminal trial, to accommodate that process. And we all thought in chambers, and we agreed, my lady, that the best date for the continuation of the pre-trial process would be the 4th of February 2020, Tuesday the 4th of February 2020. By that time, depending on the outcome of the application for leave to appeal, my learned friends would have considered their position and made whatever further applications they consider necessary to whatever courts they consider necessary, whether it be the SCA or the Concord or both. And so by the 4th of February, we will have a good idea as to where we are. And the state is still pushing for the earliest possible trial date that could accommodate everyone after that date. And obviously we can't determine that now. We would very much like it to be in April 2020. It will be determined at the next pre-trial on the 4th of February whether that date is achievable. My lady, what we also agreed upon and what we undertook to do from the state side is now to set in motion immediately a formal process of pre-trial minutes and negotiations and meetings between us so that we can sort out the practical issues of docket, and of availability of witnesses, how many admissions, so as to get some idea of how long the trial is going to run and for how long it must be set down for. And my lady, just so that I put it on record also, we have today handed over an updated version of our forensic report relating to the criminal case. That is just the old report in a new form, a more user-friendly form with some minor adjustments and some other adjustments. But my learned friends now are in possession of that electronically. We've already handed it, I think, to the Thales representatives, and I think we're about to do so in respect of Mr. Zuma. So in effect, the defense from now have the full docket, and they can, if they're so minded, they can commence their preparation for the trial if they haven't done so already. So they have everything in our view that they need to prepare for the trial.
So that is adjourned to the 4th of February. The other aspects concerning the leave to appeal does not really concern this court, whilst it does determine the way forward in terms of this matter. Yes.
Just for the process going forward, the state is really serious on getting this trial running as soon as practically possible, which is at the earliest possible date next year. And as I said, the court can accommodate us from April. The date obviously will be determined as we go forward.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn.
Just one last thing, my lady. You'll see that there's only one accused person here before court, and that is Mr. Zuma. We had by arrangement determined that the representative for Thales need not be present today. We are going to initiate a process now by which we determine that the representative for Thales in the pre-trial process going forward will be present. And the identity of that person, depending on the negotiations between us. Your ladyship will be aware that representative is him or herself, not an accused person, merely representing the corporate entity Thales. So that is also a process which we'll manage going forward. I think that's all. So from my side, I then formally request that the matter be adjourned, be postponed to the 4th of February 2020 for a further pre-trial.
Thank you very much, Mr. Downer. Mr. Mtenjwa?
My lady, I apologize that when I introduced myself, I didn't apologize for not appearing, for not introducing ourselves. Just for the record, Mr. Zuma has been ready to face this trial for over 14 years. We are heartened to know that the state is finally ready to start the trial and that we can start formally dealing with the issues that relate to the trial. But as Mr. Downer has indicated, Mr. Zuma elects to exercise the full extent of his constitutional rights, which includes the right to appeal an unfavorable decision of the, we're not sure, the civil court in the permanent stay. We agree with Mr. Downer on the dates to which this matter should be postponed, which is the 4th of February next year. We confirm...
That says a holding date, so a pre-trial date.
Yes. We confirm receipt of an electronic in the memory stick forensic report. Mm-hmm. We would like a hard copy of that. If the state could provide us with a hard copy.
Obviously, you'll make that request outside.
Yes. We are making it before the court, so the court knows that's the request we are going to be making to NPA. Other than that, my lady, again, for over 14 years, finally, the state is ready.
Thank you. Mr. Kutsia?
Yes, the second accused confirms the date of the 4th of February 2020 as the next holding date. Perhaps it's just worth placing on record that the second accused confirmed that which Mr. Downer has indicated to be subject to the wrinkle that we don't have firm instructions whether to apply for leave to appeal, if so, to which court, and if so, on what issues. And we would disagree with Mr. Downer when he suggests that the state have indicated to us that the permanent stay that we had brought ought to be dealt with at trial court in respect of our second basket of relief, which related to the constitutionality of the National Director of Public Prosecutions, Abrams' decision to prosecute, which is not something that the trial court could ever be seized with, properly so called. As far as the identity of the second accused representative who would appear in court, Mr. Down and I have made arrangements, and that will be sorted out before the next appearance on the 4th of February 2020, and we confirm that any application for leave to appeal to this court will be filed by the 1st of November, and Ms. Adhikari and I are available to argue that application on the 22nd of November this year.
Do you wish to respond at all, Mr. Downer?
Nothing further.
Nothing further. Well, it is by agreement between the parties that this matter, while both parties are ready, at least two of the parties are ready at this point to proceed, there is an agreement that the matter be adjourned as a holding date to the 4th of February next year. So, Mr. Zuma, your case, and I'm sure you understand fully, is now being adjourned to the 4th of February 2020 as a holding date. In the interim, all the other process that have been discussed will take place. Thank you. Court will rise.
All right, breaking news on the Agenda's watch. As you heard, there was a number of dates being thrown around, but it's been adjourned to the 4th of February 2020 for a further pre-trial, and one of the dates that was proposed by the state, if the courts could accommodate the state in terms of a trial, was April 2020. The state coming out and saying that, they are ready to go ahead and they are eager to get this trial going. Mr. Zuma's counsel saying that Mr. Zuma has been ready to face this trial for the last 14 years. So as we expected, today was that holding date for the trial, but Mr. Zuma's legal counsel has indicated the possible appeal with regards to the stay of prosecution judgment that was handed down last Friday.